Hello, and welcome to this episode of Ask the Divorce Experts. And today, as you can see, I've got three amazing experts on to talk to us about something that is really a significant concern for many people going through divorce, and that is how to create a positive and productive and healthy co-parenting relationship, particularly when it comes to helping keeping kids out of conflict. So I want to introduce you to each one of my guests today, and then let them tell you a little bit about why this is their area of passion and a little bit about their background, how they got here to be doing this amazing work. So I'm going to start with Trina. Trina Knudson, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your amazing background as the founder of the program?
Well, my name is Trina Knudson. I am a social worker, a mediator, case manager, parenting coordinator, and attorney, primarily representing children as a guardian ad litem. I've done that for about a quarter of a century. And I wasn't fulfilling my why. And what I mean by that is my mission has always been safeguarding childhoods. That's always what I wanted to do. From a foster care social worker, I got frustrated with that system and went to law school. And as a guardian ad litem, I would appear in court and I'd work with parents and I would tell them, why are you doing this to your kids? But over time, I realized they weren't doing what they were doing out of fear. I mean, out of spite. They were doing it out of fear. So they were ending up creating everything that they were trying to avoid. And so as I saw that and made that shift, I began to create the BEH2O curriculum. And it has completely changed not only my life, but the lives of the parents that I have worked with. And ultimately, it has truly safeguarded childhoods. And that's how I met these two lovely ladies, is that they are trained BEH2O certified coaches. So I will let them introduce themselves.
I'm going to let you two decide who wants to go next. No, I'm going to choose just to avoid that. Lisa, why don't you go next and just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and why you are involved with this BEH2O amazing program.
Great. Thank you so much, Marty. Thank you for having us. And thank you, Trina, for creating this curriculum that really is transforming lives. So my background is I was an attorney. I got married to the boy I met in college. We had three kids and life happened. And we got divorced. And it was really challenging. I really needed help. And I didn't know where to look. I didn't know where to find it. And after the divorce, I went back. I got a master's in education and I got a certificate in spiritual counseling. And I thought to myself, wow, some like deep work could really help people going through divorce. But I didn't know how to pitch it to lawyers because I thought they would think it was too touchy-feely. So I did my work as a curriculum designer and educator. I was a Jewish educator to adults, to children, and that was fulfilling. But I still was missing my why. And then I heard there was a thing called divorce coaching. So now all the pieces fit together. I could take what I know from life and from my professional experiences and blend it with a field that would really support people going through divorce. And so that's what I did. And in the process, I recognized that so much of the challenge is around raising the kids. How do we help the kids? How do I work with this person who I can't even look at anymore to raise my kids? And I know that in my case, it was really hard. And I just backed off. I thought I wasn't allowed to participate when they were at my co-parents' house. So then I met Trina, and Trina described this program that was so different and so engaging that I needed to learn more. So I did the training. I certified as a BEH2O certified coach. And I learned that there is so much power when you give people tools. And you're not just telling them, you're facilitating. It's from telling to teaching, right? They're getting to experience it. And that's the distinction. So I jumped in with both feet and I use the tools with all my clients, but now especially with clients who I'm doing the curriculum with. So that's the power. And that's why I'm here. I just want more people to know so that we can help more families.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. And Maria, and those of you who have been on the podcast, listened on the podcast, you will be familiar with Maria because she's been on the podcast before. So, Maria, reintroduce yourself for us, please.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you for hosting us. Thank you, Trina, for your incredible work. So, my name is Maria Natapov. I'm a step parenting and co-parenting coach. And how I got into this work is I'm a child of divorce. I really lived it on all sides. When my parents got divorced, they had an extremely tumultuous relationship since probably before I was born. And then eventually I got step parents and step siblings. And so we were just all thrown together, as my stepbrother says. Nobody asked us anything or prepared us. It was like, this is your new normal, get used to it. And then I fell into an emotionally and physically abusive marriage myself. We met when I was really young. And back then, nobody was really talking about what signs to look for, how to navigate that. And it was really hard to recognize and get myself out. And I, through all of that, realized I don't want to have kids. I don't want to mess any kids up. Well, when I met my now current husband, he had a daughter. So I arrived into her life as a step parent. And 5 years into that journey, she revealed that she was being abused and neglected by her bio mom, so came to live with us full time. And overnight, I went to being a mom figure while holding space for the fact that I'm not mom, recognizing how critically important it is for her to still have space for a relationship with her mom on her own terms, and hoping that she could get there somehow through her journey. And it just really shed light for me, like, something has to be done. Also recognizing I've learned some skills along the way. But in spite of all of that and understanding what it's like I couldn't relate entirely to being in her shoes, but recognizing nonetheless a lot of the impact on her, how it was impacting her and how she was feeling inside in spite of how things seemed on the surface. That was really where I could recognize similarities between our journeys. And I was like, yeah, I just need to find a way to support these kids. So lo and behold, at the time I was working in healthcare, my company restructured. So sort of like all at once, my now daughter came to live with us full time. And I found a trauma-informed parent coaching program. And that was for me the light bulb, because I knew of therapy, and for me that didn't fully resonate. But coaching really did. And what I loved about coaching is that we take the client towards goals that they want for themselves, and we explore everything that is potentially getting in the way and or what is missing for them that could help them get there. And that was so powerful for me, and really learning through the trauma-informed parent coaching program the tremendous impact parents have on their children's developmental, journey, their needs, their behaviors, just all of the things, which made so much sense when looking back on my own experience. And that's really what drove me to be here. I've now adopted my stepdaughter. That was a year and a half ago. It was entirely her choice. So that feels really exciting. Still holding space. She doesn't yet have a relationship with her mom, but I'm still holding space that maybe one day she will find her way, whatever that could look like for her. But I think this work is so transformational because looking back, I realized, my parents, they didn't know. They just didn't have skills. I grew up, granted, in a different culture. We didn't talk about emotions. We didn't talk about feelings. And it's layered, right? And I've also realized the tremendous work that it takes for a parent to often confront their own fears, as Trina pointed to, in order to be their best self for their kids and what's really needed, so that they're not impeding them from their fears, but at the same time, they are providing the proper support, guidance, and scaffolding that's often so needed. And that is what this program offers. And when I found out about it, my heart was literally singing and like flying out of my chest, because I was so excited for this beautiful container that, as Lisa and Trina both kind of pointed to, that offer parents the support, the hands-on support, and almost I will say, like a practice gym to build these muscles that we all need and benefit from and can't find anywhere. There's no place we can go to learn these critical life skills. And that is what's so incredible about this amazing program.
And I want to thank you all. And I know we want to talk about the program a little more, but I do want to just jump in here as somebody who's done the 4-hour court-ordered co-parenting training course when it used to be done in person, which was actually pretty good because you got parents to talk about experiences. People realized there was different ways of handling problems. Now, again, reality sets in. COVID happened, and this was happening before COVID. Now that's virtually all done online, virtually all done virtually. And now you're looking at, there's so much disconnect, and parents are struggling. Human beings are struggling with communication and connection and conflict resolution challenges. Now you throw in decades of living together and not getting along for maybe the last few decades or few years, going through the stress of a divorce, the stress of trying to raise children in two separate households, and that lack of skill-based how to navigate these problems. And you come up with this sort of perfect storm of why co-parenting becomes so difficult. So rather than talk about because there's faults in anything that we're going to look at, but talk about, if you wouldn't mind, the differences that the BEH2O program offers than reading a book or taking an online parenting class, or, even showing up for a weekend at a parenting retreat. Can you explain to people listening what is the program? And then you've got a large number of people who have now completed this training. What are the outcomes that you're seeing from these parents that are participating?
Well, Marty, it all started when in 2015, the courts were ordering everyone into co-parenting therapy. So they went to their 4-hour training, and guess what? It didn't work. Well, who would have thunk that, right? It's like going to a gym and working out for a day and then getting upset that you're not fit, because it really takes time. You mentioned, Marty, that they've lived in this relationship for so long, that becomes their lives. That becomes their paradigm. So we have to build new neural pathways in our brains, right? So as a guardian ad litem working in the trenches, I was watching this. I said, I can't do it anymore. So I told the judges, I'm doing an 8-week co-parenting course. So they started ordering participants to participate in this 8-week co-parenting course. And court-ordered participants, Marty, that didn't want to be here, after they graduated, said, it's not long enough. You didn't want to be here. They said, we really started to make the shift in week 6 to 8, and then it was over. So in 2020, COVID happened, had a little bit of time on my hands, and we wrote BEH2O. I believe that we've had 200 co-parenting pairs come through BEH2O in Kansas courts, and we want to touch all jurisdictions. As I've seen the transformation in families, I couldn't just keep the gift in Kansas. It's a gift that doesn't just give for our children, it's for the coaches. Like it is an amazing experience. And what the difference is it's experiential, and it is not in the box. One family may graduate in one way and another family a different way, and it's successful. So one family may decide the cost is too high of being at the same place at the same time, so we're rotating who goes to the soccer games. That's success. Another family may decide that we're going to sit at the soccer games with each other and we're going to go have ice cream afterwards. That's success. It's really a paradigm shift. It's not who's good or bad. It's, you know what? Our children are going to be more well-rounded because of our differences. It's not we have to do it this way or that way. Our children are going to benefit from each of our perspectives. We're not asking them to be kind to their co-parent because their co-parent deserves kindness. We're asking them to be kind to their co-parent because their child deserves the best example of kindness. We help them figure out their own values and then help them live by their values rather than undermine them. The old model is obsolete. So we are not going to go back there. We can't. We're not going to argue about what we argued about last month, last week, or last year. We're not going to get pulled under, we'll drowned, right? We're helping them build a bridge. So our boundaries are very strong, not because we don't care, but because we do care. And we're very forward focused. It's not, you don't have to communicate every day. You just have to create a system that works. It may be once a month that we're communicating. And if that's what works for our kids, that's perfect. But we provide that framework and we tell them, don't get mad at us at 6 weeks when nothing has changed, because it's going to take time. And we want them to fall down during the program, Marty, because we want to show them that they can get back up. Right. And so we're realistic. We have no magic wand. We have no magic fairy dust. We're not going to change your co-parent, but we are going to change the system. We're going to change. Are you going to hold him accountable or her accountable? No. You're going to work on holding yourself accountable, because following these goals help support your why. And we're going to stop looking at your co-parent as the problem. We're going to start creating a system that works. So it's just a huge different paradigm shift.
That's a big shift. And especially now when I'm seeing so many of the states go to co-parenting, whether they call it coordination or facilitation, where that professional now reports directly to the court and can testify and can do all that kind of stuff. It kind of turns into a gotcha game in a lot of these situations. I love your program it just removes all of that.
Marty, that was me. Like, I was that parent coordinator. I was that guardian ad litem. And the court looked at me as solving all the problems. I would go in there and dictate what was happening, and the court would adopt it. But nothing was good, right? The parents weren't really having that buy-in. My values do not have to be the parents' values, right? Every family is completely different. And I think the biggest thing is from our clients is they feel seen. They don't feel judged. They don't feel shamed. They feel seen, which allows them to lean in. And the programs that you're talking about, they teach behaviors, but these parents aren't capable of performing those behaviors because they're in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So we have to shift their paradigm. We have to shift their mindset so then they can actually fulfill those behaviors.
Yeah.
Right.
Wonderful.
And we have to let it take the time it needs to take. Because just as Trina said, you're not going to get in perfect shape after one day at the gym. You're not going to get in perfect shape. And sometimes you're going to sprain your ankle, right? And sometimes you're going to fall down. But that's part of the process. Like getting up, having the courage to get up, and then recognizing that, oh my gosh, I was able to fix this. Like I was able to repair the conversation, the experience, how it is for my kids, even after I screwed up, because we give people the guardrails so that they have the tools to lift themselves back up.
And Lisa just mentioned they're going to fall down, right? But so is your co-parent. You're going to fall down because you're human, and guess who else is human? Your co-parent is human too. So they will fall down. You can reach down, you can reach your hand down and pull your co-parent up, or you can roll on the ground with them, and y'all can get a whole lot of dirty. And so it's not just compassion for yourself, but compassion for your co-parent as well.
And compassion for your child.
Yes.
Right? Because sitting in their shoes, one of the things that was a big takeaway for me doing the training was that our kids change the story based on who they're with, because they want us to feel supported, whichever parent they're with. They want to tell us the story we want to hear, which means we're not getting just the facts, ma'am. We're getting a different narrative. And so our perspective is coming through the lens the kids want us to see. So if we can step back and have an outward mindset and think, why is our child telling us this story? What may be going on? Then it really shifts how we experience the whole relationship. So it's a three-way relationship. And part of BEH2O is that it includes the child as a participant in the program, which I also think is a unique thing, because Now we're looking at the child as a human too, not just an object who gets passed back and forth.
Wonderful. Maria, did you want to add to this?
Yeah, just simply to highlight it's points that Trina and Lisa already made, but I think it's so critical because I often talk about the often unseen impact on kids, right? Just everything that they're navigating in their world. Not only, to Lisa's point, do they change their story, there's a whole ginormous world of all kinds of emotions and fears that they are keeping under a lid because they don't want to disappoint either parent, or because they don't want to add stress or any discord or any emotional burden to the situation. They're already perceiving things are very tense and difficult. They're terrified of being abandoned or replaced because they're younger and they don't understand that, what happened with mom and dad and their breakup is not necessarily going to happen with them and their parents. There's just such a huge burden that they're carrying all by themselves. And all of that gets highlighted through this work. Yeah. And I think also what's really beautiful is there's such an honor, a deep honor for humanity. Like not only with each co-parent and their humanity, but us as coaches, like I love how much integrity is baked into every ounce of this process. And we often talk about it, how we live this. And we've become, I think I can safely speak for all of us because we've shared this with each other. And I think it's okay for me to share. We've become better humans because we get to do this work, because we live it and we apply it to ourselves on a daily basis. And we get to share that gift with everybody we work with. And I think that's the magic. It's so far reaching beyond the microcosm of the family. It gives the parents tools to just deal with life better and be overall more peaceful and happier. And then there's the ripple that, again, goes so far beyond just the immediate individuals impacted throughout the family and through the community and through our day-to-day. And again, it all comes down to, I think, these critical life skills that we just haven't had a good place to go and get all this goodness,
right,
and learn.
Yes. Thank you, Maria and Trina and Lisa. And I want to just stress again, when these wonderful coaches are talking about working with these families, the families that they are working with are already self-identifying or perhaps being court-identified as being high conflict. So these are not families that just have a little disagreement with parenting time every now and then. These are families that have significant system type challenges in negotiating the co-parenting relationship. So I'm going to throw out the question that you probably know is coming, because this is the one I hear from everybody I work with. I am willing to make whatever changes, or I'm willing to go to whatever classes, but I know that partner will not do this at all. So what about the person who's sitting here feeling incredibly frustrated and going, oh my gosh, I wish that my partner would come to the BEH2O program and learn these skills? Are they left out in the cold in your program?
So, Marty, it only takes one. And that sounds silly, but it is absolutely 100% true. And I see it time and time again. When they enter our program, I say, do not expect that I'm going to change your co-parent. I have no magic wand. So the change has to be within you. And what happens is once one parent changes, the system changes, right? The whole system changes. So when we start stepping out of the box and looking at our co-parent not as an obstacle, but a human being, they feel heard, they feel seen, and the system starts to change. That's us as coaches too, Marty. If we feel like, oh my gosh, this is a high conflict couple, I'm never going to make a success, guess what? We are not going to be able to help them. But as we as coaches walk in and say, this is an opportunity to practice presence, this is an opportunity to have an open mind. We're actually modeling that for our clients, and it's huge. We take a pause at the beginning of all of our sessions. We do a 3-minute meditation. It is just as much for us coaches as it is our clients. Why? Because we're all human. So when they say, my co-parent won't change, well, that's okay. because your children will be better if one of you make that shift. And then they see that, because your parent A's values are going to be different than parent one's values. So I say A and one because they'll fight over A and B. So parent A is going to maybe have the value of kindness, integrity, and humble confidence. And parent one is going to have the value of, I'm making stuff up, so I'm going to forget words, patient. They're just different, right? And so one parent isn't going to embody those values to instill in their child because that's not their top values. And the other parent's going to embody a different, and our kids are more well-rounded because of our differences. So if we can take that mindset, the whole system changes, and it will take time. So we keep it real. We rock, ROCK. We're resilient, open-minded, competent, and we keep it real. So we tell them, your co-parent isn't going to change. You're not going to change. The research is saying it's going to take 6 to 8 weeks. So you got to keep doing it. You got to keep doing it. And guess what? Your co-parent is going to fall down. And so are you, because we're all human. So what are we going to do when it happens? So Annie Duke refers to it as premortems, which usually when someone dies, right, you do an autopsy. We talk about premortems. So what's going to happen when this fails? What's going to cause it to fail? Well, let's get dirty. What's going to cause it to fail? And let's create a system to minimize the likelihood of it failing going forward. And so one parent can do that and change it completely differently and change the entire system.
Right. Yes, thank you. Lisa or Maria, I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot here. Have you had a single parent go through this and the co-parent, the other parent, refused to participate, and that single parent has said, "Oh my gosh, this relationship has maybe not made a complete 180, but it's at least at 90 degrees and heading the right direction"?
Yeah, well, I really appreciate that question, because sometimes you feel like we can't even start if both parents aren't participating. And we can adapt this model, this curriculum, for individuals as well, because it only takes one. And frankly, in all of the testimonials, the thing that resounded the most, the testimonials of the parents who have gone through it, was it only takes one, because one person can change the operating system. And that's what we talk a lot about, is that this is a new operating system for your relationship. The old system on a shelf, it doesn't work, but the new system can be implemented by one person, because one person can say, these are my boundaries. Right. And one person can say, and so we have something called Kid News. So we create a system for each individual family, what works right for them. They create the system. When am I going to receive information? When do I have, what's the time frame to respond? What do I need to know about my child's schedule, so that we have a structure and one person can offer up that structure to the other. So
that's a great resource. Yeah. Lisa, didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Because I have a client right now who's going through it on her own, and they're not even divorced yet, but they are living apart, and one of her spouse is sort of threatening her that they're going to get a guardian ad litem and they're going to take the kids away from her. And she's living with this fear. So we're working through the program to help her gain her voice and find new conversation tools so that she can speak more clearly and restructure the dialogue. And we practice. Wonderful. We do a lot of practice, and it's with emails, it's with texts, and because there's real concrete evidence of what we need to work on.
Right. Thank you for that. That's so powerful. Maria, what about you? Do you have any success stories around that? Participating?
I will be very transparent and say I don't yet. I am still working to enroll families into the program. However, I will say what has been absolutely transformational for me is the pieces that I'm noticing are naturally flowing into my relationships left and right. And it's been so phenomenal because just me engaging with this work, the way I speak about what I've learned is impacting relationships, like, to be very transparent, with my mom, somebody that I've been looking to improve a relationship with for decades. I mean, obviously we've known each other my whole life and we've been fairly close, but we've always butted heads. And I'm noticing there's so much more workability now. It's like I have access to how I'm carrying myself and I'm interacting with her that is now transforming our relationship. Now, my mom is not somebody who necessarily embraces a lot of self-help type of things, or as I've mentioned before, I didn't grow up, speaking about emotional well-being or exploring any of those strategies. That's not her forte, but she can't help but take on some of what I'm sharing, or at least it's piquing her curiosity. And by simply me being different in how I interact with her, it's changing our dynamic overall. And moreover, I have used pieces of this with clients in the past, and it's significantly impacted just helping them gain so much clarity and a new approach to the conversations that they're having with their partners, to where there's so much more vulnerability that they're now willing to bring to the table. And they have a lot more clarity for how to move forward in an area where they felt very stuck and really had no access to a way to move forward.
And, just listening to you all and how passionate you are about this, but more important even than that, and that's hugely important, is the way that you have created this program. And again, it's called BEH2O, and I'm going to have all that in the show notes, but it is, it's so customized that it's not like you're going to a professional and that professional is telling you, okay, parent A, you do this, parent one, you do that. And then you all come back and report to me how this works. It's so individualized that here's what I'm seeing as a huge advantage. That person who is resistant to having a professional tell them how to raise their children is going to be completely on board with this program because they're really creating it individualized for them and their kids. And that is, wow, that's just so wonderful, like so exciting.
And there's a community around it too, Marty. So it's in our flagship program right now, so that we have 8 co-parenting pairs going through it. So there's 16 participants, and we have a class and then a joint meeting, which is more individualized, a class and a joint meeting. But they begin to support one another as they watch one another grow. So if one co-parenting pair starts to make the shift before another, we use that co-parenting pair to share their experiences. And once you graduate, you are court ordered. The majority of ours are court ordered. They actually come back, Marty, and they talk to classes and they do recordings and they share, because once you have BEH2O within you, you don't want to let it go. We hear it doesn't just change your co-parenting relationship, it changes your life.
Yeah.
Now, we're doing research. Arizona State University is doing research. And before Dr. Carrie O'Hara agreed to do the research project, she said, I'm going to tell you the truth of the program. And I said, I wouldn't want anything else other than the truth. And she goes, well, what do you think the success rate is? And I said, it's probably about 80 to 85%. And she's like, I will do it, because most people think they want to say it's 100%. And I told you, we're going to keep it real, right? That's one of our values. So I'm not saying we're the magic silver bullet for everyone. But for the greatest majority, it has significantly changed not just their co-parenting relationship. It's changed their life because it's an experiential process.
Yeah. Yeah. So we could talk about this for forever, but we are almost out of time. So I'm wondering if maybe we could just go around the room, and if and you can go in whatever order you want, maybe just one critical point that perhaps something you feel that should have been talked about here that we didn't, that I didn't ask the question, or that we just simply ran out of time, either about the program, the benefits to parents, the outcomes people can expect. I'm going to leave it really open-ended because y'all are experts on this program and on this whole new way of looking at creating positive co-parenting relationships out of some really high conflict and challenging situations. So who wants to go first with that big open-ended question there?
So I'll jump in because I love to talk. So I think the biggest takeaway that I have and that we've seen in the testimonials is that we start with a commitment that says we're going to trade judgment for curiosity. I think the whole idea that people come into co-parenting thinking they both know best and they both think that they know everything and they really don't get curious until they say it out loud and have to experience it for several weeks. It doesn't happen right away. But trading judgment for curiosity is enormous. It's transformative. And then the second piece is that we open the program with a commitment to the program, and we close the program with a commitment to their child. And that is powerful.
Yeah. Thank you, Lisa. That's wonderful. And another little tidbit of information about the program there. I so appreciate that. Trina or Maria, who wants to jump in next?
I'll jump in really briefly. This is actually based on the conversation we were having a little bit ago. I think to your point, Marty, the beautiful thing here is it's entirely guided by the co-parents. What we're creating in this process is entirely guided by them and what works for them. And we're just serving to facilitate workability within that and exploring everything that may get in their way that needs to be looked at, planned for, accounted for, to ensure that they can be successful. And again, as we've said, we're not looking for 100% perfection. That doesn't exist. We're just looking for something that will work and give them sustainability in their relationship, and also something that will support them when they have to get up and dust themselves off and get back on the journey or on the path. And I think that is really what's so unique and powerful, is the flexibility and adaptability, but within a structured environment with those guardrails and that loving kind of container, as I've said before, that's just supporting them throughout the entire journey. And one thing that struck me is, even though they're both going through the program together, most of the time, it's like they're getting individualized support in spite of it, because it really is, we are supporting each one of them with whatever they need support with, whatever's an obstacle for them, whatever's a concern and or a fear, because we want to make sure that when it ends, they can sustain that on their own. We don't want them to be reliant on us. And that's another really beautiful aspect to this, is we're not looking to keep them forever. We're hoping they will graduate with the tools that they need to have that and sustain it on their own.
Thanks, Maria. And I really like that idea of giving people the tools and then letting them free. It's not like something they're going to be involved in for years and years and years, which sometimes is, people are worried about that. And so knowing that they're going to get all this support and then be free to go practice, I think is really powerful as well. Trina, we're going to leave it to you to sum up everything here.
There is a great gift in helping people to see that everyone is human and no one is perfect. So your co-parent, if we could just make that pivot and see them as a human as opposed to an obstacle, the whole world opens up in that regard. We end all of our sessions with the loving kindness meditation. May I be happy, may I be well, may I be safe, may I be peaceful and at ease. And then we ask them to think of their co-parent. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. May you be peaceful and at ease. And we don't ask them to want that for their co-parent because their co-parent deserves that. That's too hard. We ask them to want that because their child deserves two parents who are peaceful and at ease. So we're being real. We know that they've been through hell and back with this individual. And if you're not ready to want them to be peaceful and at ease for themselves, that's fine. But we know that you want your child to have the best experience feasibly possible. So let's approach them in that way. And that pivot is just huge. We are all human. I'm human. My coaches are human. The parents we work with are human. And if we could just have some humanity in all of this, things would improve tremendously.
What a wonderful way to sum it up. Now, if people want to find out more about the BEH2O program, and that's BEH2O, where is the best place to locate that resource, or where would you like people to be directed to?
So they can go to www.BEH2O Co-Parenting.com, and Lisa's link is on there. Maria's link is on there. We just graduated a new co-parenting or a new coaching cohort. So we have 3 links right now, but there will be several more coming up on Monday.
All right. And I will make sure that information gets in the show notes. And I just want to thank you for your time today. But more importantly, I want to thank you for what you're doing for parents and for kiddos in our communities, because they're the ones that bear the weight of the parents' conflict during the divorce. So even if it's just a little step you're taking moving forward, that is so positive for your kids. And thank you for all you are doing. I want to learn more about this program myself, so I'm really excited about it. And if people want to find out more, go to the website, click on the individual links, and set up a time to speak with one of these amazing coaches to find out more about the program and how it can help you and your kids. Lisa, Trina, and Maria, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
And I'd like to thank everybody for watching this episode of Ask the Divorce Experts. And there will be another one posted on YouTube before you can blink.